Hi folks, you're about to watch a doc, All Light Everywhere, by one of today's most exciting young documentary makers, Theo Anthony. This is a film that appeared on numerous critics' lists of the best films of 2021. I'm here to give you one or two things to think about as you watch it. My name's Aaron Doyle. I'm a sociology prof at Carleton University. It's an honor to play a small role in KDocs 22. In the film, you will see the director, Theo Anthony. Theo trained in Werner Herzog's Rogue Film School. He often shoots in the city of Baltimore, Maryland, where he's from. Several of Theo's docs, including the one you're about to see, deal with racial injustice in Baltimore. His earlier film, Rat Film, looked at rat infestations in the city as a way to explore racial segregation, redlining, and systemic inequality. You may know 5 years before the murder of George Floyd, another African-American man, Freddie Gray, died back in 2015 at the hands of Baltimore police, sparking major unrest in the city. This was subject of Theo's short film, Peace in the Absence of War. It's also important context for the doc you're about to see, All Light Everywhere. Another key theme in this doc and in Theo Anthony's other work is visual surveillance. You'll see Theo has somehow managed to get amazing access to places and things we normally can't see, including Baltimore police being trained in the use of body-worn surveillance cameras. And he lets us have a look inside the walls of the company Axon that makes these cameras and also makes tasers, as you're going to see. Theo wants you to think about what truths these surveillance cameras show and how these truths are manufactured, and also what are the blind spots. Us academics, of course, have a 5-syllable word for the idea that seeing is believing, the idea in Western cultures that vision trumps the other senses. So we academics call that ocular centrism. And Theo Anthony wants to unsettle that. So why do we equate seeing with truth? Theo brings into this documentary very interesting examples from science that make us question how science sees. Another thing that I love about this doc is that it weaves in these fascinating historical attempts to visualize crime and the criminal And so you can ask yourselves, what assumptions are there right from the beginning in how we try to visually capture and record the criminal? But Theo also points us towards the future of visual surveillance. What will these cameras know and see in us in 10 years from now or 20? So who or what's going to be behind the cameras then? One of the trickiest and most interesting things about a documentary about visual surveillance is that it's also always about itself. A documentary itself is also a kind of visual surveillance. So think about how Theo Anthony deals with that here. Many years ago, I wrote a book called Arresting Images, Crime and Policing in Front of the Television Camera. And what I argued back then was that when a new technology comes along like the video camera, it creates openings to challenge authority and current power structures. But over time, what happens is that the most powerful places like the police, the most powerful players like the police bend the use of the technology to their advantage. So I want you to think about if that still holds today. So when a new technology comes along, there's openings for a while, but then powerful players like the police gradually take control. When George Floyd was murdered by Minneapolis police in 2020, the cops on the scene were wearing the very same Axon body cameras that are shown in this documentary. So what does that tell us? If this film sparks you to want to push for better, safer, more just ways to spend public money than on policing and new technologies like these for police, I encourage you to check out an amazing website, which is called simply defund.ca. So, dig into this film, have a good think about what you see and hear. I only wish I could be with you in person to hear what you think and talk about it with you and with director Theo Anthony.